Hello guys, thank you for tuning in, and of course welcome to Melody Sessions with me. And yeah, actually for the first session I want to do a quick introduction for melodies, but as I perceive them. Now you can think about those next couple of minutes just as building blocks for our next sessions. And I'm actually gonna start from the end and just say that it's not a big of a deal to write a melody for a track. Furthermore, I think it's maybe the let's say most satisfying part inside of production process, at least for me, and I'll explain why. Because while some parts of the production might be very technical, such as duplicating, arranging, cleaning, it can be compression, noise treatment, etc., etc., there are parts in the production that are just way more intuitive, parts that just flowing out of you, emerging from deep inside of you kind of thing. And for me, the melody part is exactly that. And I'm talking about improvising the keys and recording that flute or kalimba. And it can be playing and using your synthesizer or a physical sampler. And yeah, at least for me, this is the essence of music. Just playing, improvising, and basically having fun creating music. But I'm not talking only about those long-line melodies, because there are other words in the project that I personally easily perceive as melodies too. Let's say some sequenced bass or other kinds of rhythmic instruments, short arpeggios as well, and you name it. And on our next sessions, we're going to talk about them all. So just to put that rock behind us, melody by definition, and I've got it over here, it's a sequence of notes and usually combining different pitches from the same scale. Hope I got it right, but yeah, basically, it's just the main part of the track, that part that keep ringing over and over again in the listener's head, even after the tracks ended. And yeah, for me, I perceive melodies not only as main hook. For me, it can appear as secondary bass line. It can be, let's say, short sequences in the background, maybe even percussive elements. And yeah, of course, those short and long main hooks. But even those random one-shots, that sometimes appear in how it calls a call and response type of a thing, even those I can sometimes perceive as melody. But yeah, just keep in mind, that most of the time several of them will appear together, and together they're creating those layers of interests, let's say, adding depth to the track and creating environment that I try to achieve in the track. Okay, now the last thing to consider will be priorities. So what I mean by that, always think about the importance of each layer. So the more important certain melody is, the more focus it will get. Simple as that, and I'll say it again, the more important a certain layer is, the more focus it will get. In terms of creation, let's say whenever a collision appears between, two or more melodies, or let's say even other layers in the track, just keep in mind, the ones are less important, those the one who step aside. Spectrum-wise, stereo-wise, etc., etc. And yeah, those are my basic rules. Let's move on. Okay, now last thing to talk about before we actually start is where to actually start. And honestly, there isn't a right way to do it, because we could write a melody on top of the track as one of the final steps. But on the other end, I could start a track from an idea for a melody that I have. Or another scenario, I could write a kick bass and right after to place a melody, if it plays in my mind, or another scenario, maybe start with other stuff like short arpeggios, short licks, and anything else, and then get to the melody. So in the end, bottom line, it really depends on each one's different approach. But despite all of that, it still needs to make sense here. So the way we actually gonna do it is like this. First, I'm gonna start with the short hooks, then move on to the complex writing, and in the end, we'll get to the main melody on top of everything. And after saying that, this is really everything for the first session. Let's move on and start with the actual writing.